Hello, everyone, and welcome to Six Figure Souls Doing Good and Making Money, the weekly podcast where I highlight entrepreneurs creating businesses around their passion that makes their heart sing, and they are making money doing it. Today, we are interviewing Susan Marco, who's a clinical hypnotist out of New Jersey. This entire season is interviewing our members from NLBP and bringing their gifts to the world. My name is Camille Miller. I am a business strategist and mentor. Welcome, Susan. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi, Camille. Thank you so much for having me.
You are
I'm so
welcome.
happy to be here.
Yeah, we haven't spoken in a while, so I think this is going to be a great conversation.
Yeah,
So I have known you probably 5 or 6 years at this point.
yeah.
5 or 6 years. So how long have you been in practice?
So I've been in practice for 6 years.
Yeah, so I knew it was the
Uh,
beginning.
yeah,
It was the
um,
beginning when you were just getting started. And I'd,
that's
I'd
right.
love for you to tell our listeners how you got into this field. I always love the stories of the journey of where you were before you went, you know what I think I'll do? And then go in that direction. Can you give us a little bit of a background?
Yeah, sure. So I I was a massage therapist for 35 years.
Mm,
So most of my adult life, I've been helping people relax, basically learn
okay.
how to relax in their body and their mind. And, 35 years is a long time to be in practice. And at probably around 25, 30 years, I started to think, where am I going? What am I going to do? Because how long am I going to be able to physically do this?
Yeah.
So, a little side note to the story is that when I was around 25, I met my first meditation teacher.
Okay.
And he taught a series of techniques that he compiled into a program um, that he called meditation. So I use those techniques all through my adult life.
Hmm.
And when I was thinking about what to do next, I thought about coaching. I thought about working with people spiritually in some way. And somebody had mentioned to me many years previous, why don't you just go get the hypnosis training? And I, at that time, couldn't see my way to it.
Okay.
And so it kind of, how sometimes an idea will just kind of drop in, or it'll like flood your mind. You'll hear something that you haven't heard in a long time, or
Yeah.
you'll get. So I got that kind of cue, and I said, all right, I have to find a teacher. And so I looked around and I
Had you
found,
ever gone through hypnosis before that?
nope.
So this was just okay. Okay.
So, but I mean, I knew a little bit about what it was, and, meditation, hypnosis kind of seemed similar to me. And so, um, I found a teacher and I went and got my initial training. And the funny thing was that probably maybe the third class or fourth class, it occurred to me that what he was teaching were the exact techniques that were part of that meditation that I learned back when I was 25 years old.
Wow.
So I had been doing self hypnosis all of these years anyway.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So it felt like a
Yep.
really good fit. And so, yeah, I did this training and I got my certification in. So, what this man taught was something called regression to the cause of an issue. And then we would use his um, modality because it's different than how psychotherapy refers to this term, but we would use parts therapy, or pretty much negotiating with the part of the self that either created or controlled an issue.
Okay.
So great work. And I have a lot of colleagues who use it quite well.
Hmm.
But for me, it wasn't really working. And it was, I was curious, why am I not trained enough? Is it just not the right work for me? Is this not something that resonates for, like, why is this not sort of hitting, gold for me? And so life would have it that I was looking to heal something myself. It doesn't matter, specifically doesn't matter, but I asked a few colleagues who, by this point, I'd been in practice about a year and I knew a few people, and I
Okay.
had been to a conference, and I asked for referrals to someone who could help me kind of look at the emotional component of this physical thing that I was looking to heal. And I ended up connecting with a trainer, a woman in Australia. And it was around the same time that we were starting to lock down. And it was also around the same time for me that I had gotten a breast cancer diagnosis.
Oh,
And it's interesting because it was very, very small, very early, low grade, low stage. I was fortunate, that
mhm.
if you have to have that journey, at
Yeah.
least it was really, on the grand scheme of things, mild. So all of these things coming together, I meet this woman, Emma. I have a session with her online, and holy crumb. um, Everything started to change for me in my being, in who I am as a human being, my
Okay.
relationships, my feeling about myself, my emotional responses to things were like I stepped into a whole other level of awareness, understanding, maturity. Like all of it was so, and I fell in love. I fell in love with her, but I also fell in love with this work.
Yeah.
And that's when I started training with her, and since then have become certified in all but one of her modalities.
Okay.
And this is primarily the work that I use with people now.
So is it a different modality or is it still hypnosis?
So I'm going to say it's trance work,
Okay.
right?
That's
So
helpful. Yeah.
was like people think hypnosis and they think, oh, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to check out and I'm going to lose control of my mind. And people are, this, like, people have kind of sometimes misunderstandings about what hypnosis actually is.
Okay.
Hypnosis is the most natural state of being. We are in and out of a trance state, a hypnotic trance state, all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the cooking trance, when you're
Yeah.
cooking, if you like cooking and you get space out, and you're just focused on what you're doing and everything else in the room fades out, right? That's a trance state
Yeah. Like
because you're
driving.
focused on that.
Yeah.
And
For
driving,
me,
right?
it's driving. Yeah.
How many times do you miss an exit?
Yeah.
And you know where you're going, but you miss the exit and you go, oh my gosh, where was I?
Yeah.
So in hypnosis, our conscious thinking analytical mind gets overwhelmed for whatever reason and it checks out. And that's when we can access the deeper levels of our subconscious.
Okay.
So, in the subconscious is where all of our programs are, right? All of our emotions, our beliefs, our thought forms, all of our trauma experience, everything we've ever learned is stored in the subconscious. And the subconscious's job is to keep us safe. And so we create programs as we go through life based on response to the traumas and the things that happen to us.
Right.
And oftentimes those programs become coping mechanisms. And because they work in the moment that they're created, we hold on to them. And it becomes the program or the story that we carry through life with us.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I do is I use different states of trance. Sometimes it's a very light state, sometimes it's deeper, depending on what it is that we're looking to change. And essentially, what I do is I help people to rewrite those stories.
I love that.
So, for me, I had a story, I had a belief that people didn't really want to hear what I had to say, which is common, right? We all
Yep.
feel kind of
Yep.
like, they're going to know I'm a fraud. They're going to find out that I don't really know what I'm talking about. They're
Yep.
going to like all of those things that go on in our mind. And it was when I did this program that I was able to rewrite that and realize, oh, wait a second, that was based on something that happened to me when I was 5 years old that,
Wow.
created a belief that I'm not really safe to put myself out there because I'm not really worthy of that. I'm not really worthy of being heard. And as soon as I was able to rewrite that to something more resourceful, like I have a lot of cool stuff to share. Why wouldn't people want to hear what I have to say? And if I don't share it, how will they know?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, so I did this session. I was in training, and I jumped online with a woman, and we brought each other through this particular modality. And at the end of it, one of the things that I do with most of my clients in almost any program that I do is encourage them to take action in
Okay.
the direction of the new behavior. So if the new belief, right? So if the
Right.
new belief is people really want to hear what I have to say, how am I going to action that? And so at the end of the session, I'm sitting with this woman on Zoom. We did this, and she said, what massive action can you take to prove to yourself? And I'm looking around the room, and I'm like, I don't know, gosh, how do I? And then, and my cell phone was sitting there. I said, oh my gosh, I have to jump on Facebook and do a live video right now. So while she was watching, I jumped on Facebook, and Camille, honestly, it was hilarious because I had no script. I didn't even know what I was going to say. My hair, like I wasn't, coiffed, like
Yeah.
I jumped on and I said, oh my gosh, guys, you won't believe it. I just did this session and I smashed out a stupid old belief that you didn't want to hear what I have to say. And can you imagine that? And I mean, I went into this whole rant, right? Well, on a business level, the very next morning, I had 3 people reach out to me, and it was almost like, I'll have what you're having.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
what are you doing? I'm interested. I'm really curious about this work that you're doing. And, okay, yay, like that's what we want in business. However, personally, it really hit my heart like, oh my God, I've been keeping all the goods to myself. And there are
Incredible.
so many people out there that really need this. They need this help, and so that shifted everything for me in terms of being able to just clearly speak about and share and be empowered myself in my practice.
Yeah. And I know you still do Facebooks because I see them. So I'm curious, when people seek you out, do they know that they have this root problem? Like, what are they experiencing that they seek you out?
Sometimes it's as nebulous as I just feel stuck and I don't know why.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be something more specific, like I keep doing the same thing, and I don't know why I keep doing the same thing. And whatever that is, like let's say in relationship, I keep falling for the same kind of person,
Right.
or I'm attracting the same kind of thing to myself over and over again.
Yep. Yep.
And part of what I do in my programs is to create a space, a safe space where my client can just spill out and, you know, like almost vomit the thoughts and feelings that are there, because we really don't have an opportunity often to do that.
Agreed.
And when you're given the opportunity to just be heard, things will soften, relax, and unfold in that moment. And often the real issue will come right up to the surface in a short amount of time.
Wow. Wow. And that's, I assume, so life-changing, because there's probably stuff, just like you didn't know it was your voice, that they're uncovering things that they didn't know they were stuck. They knew they were
Right.
stuck, but they
Right.
didn't know the belief that they had that kept going.
Exactly.
Awesome. Do you work with a very specific type of person or anyone?
For this particular work, I seem to attract a lot of women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say probably, but really, I don't like to even limit myself. Sometimes I'll have younger women that come in, like 20 something.
Yeah.
Um, it seems the majority is probably, 30 to 60
Okay.
years old. Because, at different decades, different things come up for us
Oh, yeah.
as we're unfolding and gathering wisdom and learning more about who we are and what we want. And sometimes, so many things can get in the way of that, right? Like I'll have I have work with a lot of women, actually, moms
Okay.
who feel, that they're losing themselves in,
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but really, I work with anybody as
Awesome.
long as, so I'm gonna qualify that, because
Okay.
I'll work with anyone who is ready.
Mm.
Right. If sometimes people will call me, and I always offer a free consultation because I want to speak with the person before we engage in a program. Because if I know off the top I can't help them, I don't really want to work with them. I'd rather refer them out to somebody who would be more appropriate for where they are.
Okay.
A friend of mine called me the other day. Her friend is really in crisis. She's been in a relationship with a narcissistic man for years and years, and she's just broken, and she's in crisis now. And she said, I want to bring her to see you. And I said, she needs a higher level of care than me to
Yeah.
start.
Smart. Yeah.
Love to work with her, but
She's
you know,
not there yet.
she's not in a place
Yeah.
really for me. I had
Yeah.
a guy bring his son who has an addiction problem, because I'm also involved in the addiction community.
Good to know.
And the he's still using, and he's not at all acknowledging that he has a problem. I'm not the person for him.
Right.
He needs a different level of care.
Yeah.
So
So I'm curious, when people work with you, do they need more than one session? Is it like continuous care to kind of go a little deeper each time?
yeah,
Or is it like a one shot?
thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
I rarely do a one-off session anymore,
Okay.
because it's just there's no one and done.
You're scratching the surface, right?
Right. Sometimes you don't even get to the surface in
Yeah.
that one session.
Okay.
Now, it depends on what it is, right? If somebody just wants to do some guided imagery and have some relaxation and maybe learn a tool or two that they can utilize, that's a one session kind of deal.
Okay.
But when someone calls me and they have an addiction problem, or they have a sexual dysfunction, or they have a something that's stopping them from thriving in their life somehow, usually the minimum I work with people is 4 sessions.
Okay.
The ideal is 8 for most people, because if you really want to heal, it's multi-leveled, it's multi-layered. we
Yeah.
have to we have to release whatever we're holding on to, right? We can release the emotions, the beliefs, which is very powerful in and of itself. That would be the 4 session program.
Mhm.
But we want to do some real healing, go back and release the stuff from our childhood specifically, or do the forgiveness work in healing and letting go of resentment, which most of us, we carry a lot of resentment.
Yeah.
And true forgiveness, it's not about the other person or the situation. It's about letting go of the hold that it has on you. So it's really forgiving back to yourself.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah. And how many times, if we really sit with something, if I sit with, let's say, a relationship issue that I had 20 years ago, a relationship went south. And
Okay.
I'm really upset with that person because they did this and they did that. And I can't believe they treated me this way and that way. But if I really sit with it long enough and look at it, most of the time, I'm more upset with myself than I am with that person.
That makes sense.
I'm more upset with
Yeah.
the things that I overlooked, or
Mm-hmm.
chose not to see, or how could I have missed that? And so when I let go of the resentment toward that person or toward that situation, it frees me up, and it allows me to sit in that space of forgiveness for myself.
Yeah. Can people, once they go through your healing and help, can they slip back to that? Or are you really clearing the subconscious so they can't get in touch with that level of low again?
So that is a great question, and I'm glad you asked me that. We are layered.
Yeah.
Things happen in layers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all up to the person, right? You can clear something entirely, I believe, and never have that thought again. Or you can clear to the level that you are aware or cognitive of or able to presently. So when I cleared that belief that people didn't want to hear or that I wasn't worthy of being heard, it was clear in that moment. Felt like it was done.
Yeah.
But there are times when I'll go to do something out of my comfort zone with that. Like last year when I went to the hypnosis conference and I presented in front of colleagues for the first time. And I was sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to, I was putting it together. And I'm like, why are they going to want to listen to me? I mean, I'm only in practice a few years and these guys have been doing what they're doing for all this time. I started to get into all
Yep.
that chatter of, I'm not good enough to be doing this. Who do I think I am? And then I caught myself, right? And I heard the words and I'm like, wait a second. That's an old story. I'm not listening to that. So it's not that these things will still come up,
Yeah. It's
but we have a
catching
different,
yourself.
yeah, we have a
Yeah.
different awareness about it, right? And
Yeah.
so we're more conscious, more aware. We can catch it in the moment and rewrite it in the moment and say, no, not listening to that. That's not a belief that I subscribe to anymore.
Yeah. I always say that there's, especially with imposter syndrome, because I work
Yeah.
with that with entrepreneurs, like you can get them to a level, like if they're making nothing and in their mind success is 50,000, when they hit that, it's like a ceiling, right? And it's the same problem, right, coming back, but we have to get to that next level, like get to 100, get to 500, get like, but, and I think that's very normal,
Yeah.
but you're not going all the way back to zero.
I have a
You're
lot of
hitting.
clients who they'll come in, I'm sorry, they'll come in and they'll do a program, right? And maybe 3 months, 4 months later, they'll call me and say, I'm really feeling like, let's say we do an emotional release, okay?
Okay.
And we release sadness or grief. And a few months down the road, they feel great. They're gleeful and happy and joyful. A few months down the road, something happens that triggers a deeper level of that same emotion.
Gotcha.
So that old sadness and grief will come up. And as I'm saying that, it's an important thing to realize the distinction between when I talk about releasing emotion or releasing belief, it's from past events. It's not current.
Mm-hmm,
Like our
mm-hmm.
emotions, anger, sadness, fear, hurt, shame, guilt, like we need those emotions. They're there for a reason. But when we stockpile from all of the events and all of the circumstances and experiences that we've had, those emotions get stockpiled. And then when something happens, we get triggered. So, if I walk in your house and I kick your dog, you should be angry with me.
Right.
And you have every right to say, don't kick my dog. Are you crazy? Stop it. Or if you go in the kitchen and you get a frying pan and you start beating me on the head with the frying pan, it's probably a little out of proportion. So there's something from the past, perhaps,
Right.
that
That
is
brings up.
being, reenacted in that moment that is coming up. So we can release that so that when you're in the moment and I come and kick your dog, it's present.
Mm-hmm,
Your
mm-hmm.
anger is right now present and you're responding in an appropriate way to that.
Right. So Susan, I just want to bring up before we wrap up, you do this online.
Yes, I
So
work.
you can help people no matter where they're hearing this,
That's right.
you can help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
COVID was a big
Yeah, I know.
eye opener for us. 6 years ago, if you said, oh, you're going to be doing hypnosis with people or trance work with people online, I would have, yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's actually working with people online is great because you know what? You're home, you're in your own space, you're
Yep.
safe, you have time, you don't have to get in the car and drive after.
Yeah. I
But for
agree.
those, I love the energetic component being in person as well. So, I do see people in my office in Little Silver, New Jersey in person as well. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Is there ever a fear, because this just came up for me, if you're doing a session online and you lose the connection and that person's still in a trance?
So, it's a good question. I pre-frame that with my clients. So there is
Okay.
a built-in suggestion that, if connection is lost, you will notice and you will come back to conscious awareness and just sign back on. It has never really happened.
Okay.
Um, if that were to happen, and look at if we're in session and somebody drifts off so far and we lose connection, I'm going to give them that session again.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I
redo
meant for
that
their
session
safety.
with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that part.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 So, um,
I just wondered if people were thinking that. How can you do that online? I just wanted to put it out there for them.
yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. Because I'm sure people have that fear.
So there are things that we can do in the hypnotic induction, when I put you into that state of trance, or when you allow that state of trance to occur, because that's really what
Yep.
it is. I can make all the suggestions in the world, but you have to allow them
Mm.
and you have to receive them and trust the process of what we're doing. Right. So, part of the induction would be, you will be so relaxed, but not asleep. At no point in this session will you be asleep. You'll
Okay.
be aware, you will be aware of all that I'm saying. Even if your conscious mind is not aware, your unconscious will hear everything.
Beautiful.
So, yeah,
Safety's built in. I love
yeah,
that.
it's all built in.
I love that. Susan, tell us about some of the programs you have going on. I know you do some group programming.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited. So one of the things that is new that I'm doing this in 24, likely in collaboration with another friend of mine who does some different healing techniques, is we're going to do seasonal workshops. So winter, summer, spring, and fall.
Okay.
Leaning into each of those seasons and what they bring us, and how can we utilize those times for our benefit, to our advantage. That's one cool thing that I'm excited about. The other thing is, this past year, I did 6 workshops that were titled Awakening the Goddess for women. I'm rebranding that workshop in a couple of different ways. So it's actually going to be WE. I wrote it down because I just came up with it. And where did I write it? Yeah, so it's We Experiential Workshop.
Okay.
Women Empowered. WE, Women Empowered. And it'll be 3 sessions, maybe 2 weeks apart. So each session that we meet, and this is in person, this is a group.
It's in person and a group.
Process in person.
Okay.
Perhaps I'll bring it online, but it is very experiential, and there are certain things we do physically, tangibly, that
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I'm going to create that in an online platform. But these workshops are really about releasing shame and guilt, healing our inner child, determining, like leaning into and finding what fills your cup, what makes you joyful and happy, and how, like, go do that, right? And then learning how to receive pleasure, which
Nice.
many women, we've forgotten.
Yeah.
We've had to step into more masculine roles in life, and I feel like we as women deserve to have some time to float back, to step back into our true divine feminine self.
I love that.
And part of that is also bringing those together, merging the masculine and feminine part of ourselves,
Yeah.
that we
Definitely
feel,
need both.
yeah, so we feel
Yeah.
more balanced and more whole. And I think that is a generator of happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Receiving is a big one. That's something that I'm working on this year. It's
Yeah.
not my word for the year. That was empowerment and expansion. I had 2 words, empowerment and expansion,
Yeah.
which I think I did great. But receiving was a part of that.
Yeah.
It's remembering that as a woman, I am a receiver. And I need to do more of that in my life
Yeah.
to be in my power, because that's how I'm in my power, by receiving.
That's right.
Yeah.
Love
That was a long lesson. But
Yeah.
yeah,
How old are you?
yeah, 56.
I got
It took a while.
I got 9 years on you. So
Yeah, but I think it's the way I was brought up, right? And it was a very different. I was a child of the 80s, and I didn't really have role models. And I came from a very strict Italian family where women weren't really even educated. So I had to break out of that and kind of figure, but I ended up going very much into my masculine,
right.
right? Which broke down my marriage and everything else. And so after that, I was like, okay, let's get some balance here
Right.
and figure out who I am. So it's
Exactly.
been a journey, but now I get it. But yeah, and it's a balance of masculine and feminine.
So that's what that empowerment, that's what my
Love
women's
it.
empowered workshop is all about.
Sounds incredible. And it's, you said 4 sessions?
I
Or is it
3 sessions.
3 sessions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this last year when I did it, I did one full day workshop,
Okay.
beginning the goddess. And the first group, we had six gals, and they all wanted to do more. So I created the second workshop, which was
Oh,
also a full day. But the thing is, too much content. Like it was a lot crammed into
yeah.
a day, and you lose some of it or it's overwhelming. It's just too much. So I'm gonna see how this goes, breaking it down and giving
Yeah.
people more time to actually absorb and integrate in between, so that we release, and then we have some time to sit with that, and then we fill our cup, and we have some time to sit with that, and then we delve deeper into what does it mean to receive pleasure, and how do we do it, how do we get
Right.
there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Susan, how can people get in touch with you and learn more about you and your work?
My website is very easy. It's susanmarco.com.
Okay.
A lot of information on there. All my services, my contact information is there. You can also, if somebody wants to directly, like right now, you feel like you want to reach out to me, just email me at susan.marco@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Always
Awesome.
happy.
And all of Susan's bio and information will also be in these show notes. But if you're driving the car, you can remember susanmarco.com. And you can always get in touch with us, and we can put you in touch with Susan as well. If you can't remember how to do that, or you forget the name, whatever that is, we can help you out with that. Susan, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing your gifts with us. You do incredible work in the world.
Thank you so much, Camille. I love these opportunities to share, and I love you, and I love NLBP, and this is like Merry Christmas,
Yeah.
right?
I love it. Thank you. And I want to thank you, our listeners, for being a part of our podcast. If you want to learn more about our podcast or listen to other episodes, you can also go to SOUL professional.com, where we have masterclasses and networking and so many ways that we can come together as a community and learn more, so we can expand both personally and professionally. I am your host, Camille Miller. Again, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.